Alrighty. So let's get her done. Hopefully this time I won't get one shot right before victory. That always feels bad. This monster definitely feels a little bit different than the last monster, the last event. She is much more RNG heavy. And I think that comes from, oops, that was not the right ability, but it doesn't really matter. This always sucks. I feel like she just comes in at a really weird spot. She applies some buffs to herself, and you have to catch the buffs at the right time. You have to have the infinite bubble, this one up, and then you have to remove the buffs twice in a row. And it is very unfortunate when you get caught with your pants down because she can just one shot you. So I'm trying to get Uni as quickly as possible now and clear this ordeal so that I can actually start doing damage. So now I'm going to try to Uni again as quickly as possible to get the same infinite bubble again. And once I get that same infinite bubble back for the second time, I should be able to push pretty hard to about 50% of her HP. So now she's pretty safe. She's like a cuddly kitten until about the 40% mark, and then she decides to go ham. Margaret is not your friend when she gets pissed off. So I'm going to try to get Uni again as quickly as possible, and I don't want to lose this bubble. If I lose the bubble, that would be extremely unfortunate, and I lost it. Well, it is what it is. Durg, unfortunately, does not give a bubble, so I'm basically screwed for the up until like the 50% mark. Which, I mean, I guess this is probably fine. I'm gonna need to get Uni again, but with these buffs, I should easily be able to push to the 50% mark around when I get Uni. And then I'm going to be applying one of the most important debuffs, and that's this one. This reduces her stats. It reduces the amount of damage that she deals with ability power, and it increases the amount of ability power that I do to her. So all around, it's a really powerful buff. Now I want to get Uni again as quickly as possible because I want to apply Overcast again and then try to catch Fortify. Let's see if I can do it. And because I need to catch the Fortify and I want to protect this bubble. If I can protect the bubble, oh yes, and Fortify. Okay, hopefully that was within a minute. And I can catch Overcast with the Fortify, and that should give me the additional bonus. Now, I have a different problem. I have to Uni again as quickly as possible. And the reason is because this enemy field, the Burial Collapse, is going to expire. And that is not good. Oh my goodness. Somehow I'm alive. All right. Burial Eclipse is expiring. Now I don't have a good field, and I don't have a good crest either. But, and I don't have a good bubble. I don't have anything. So hopefully we don't get one shot. That'd be very unfortunate, but it happens with this monster. Even if I double proc like eternities, it just doesn't matter. And she can apply insanity now and rejection. She can really just, yeah, she's just a pain in the ass, honestly. Oh, okay, please give me uni. All right, now I should be okay. I have the good bubble, and I should be able to push for uni again, and then it will basically be over. If I get one shot, then it happens. Like, I can't stop it. Well, let's just hope it doesn't happen, though, because that would be very unfortunate if it did. Oh, man. I felt like that was really close. You never know which ability is just going to one-shot you with this monster, which is part of what makes it so much fun. And I think... Oh, man. My Burial Eclipse is gone, so she can just one-shot pretty hard. I really want to reapply, but honestly, if I reapplied anything, it'd probably be... Burial Eclipse is really powerful. But I don't... Wait, do I even have Crest up? Oh, I don't have Crest up. It is what it is. You know, I think this one's a lost cause. She is really low, though. I might just be able to push it. Oh, my goodness. Sometimes you just get lucky like that, and it's over. I'll just... it'll probably take 2 attacks, and she probably won't even be able to move. Yeah. Oh, actually, I don't know if I want to risk that. Oh, okay. Yeah, there you go. All right. So this monster is an RNG monster, in my opinion. I mean, all really, really difficult quests are kind of RNG monsters in a way. But I felt personally like, even though I have a good strategy, and I had a strong strategy in many of my runs, if I didn't double proc at the right time, or if she buffed when I didn't have the infinite ability bubble and she would attack right after, you could just get caught with your pants down and get one shot. So I personally felt like this monster was really difficult compared to the last monster. The last monster was easy. You had Durg, and if you had Durg and then both of the event monsters, it was super easy. This one was not. So let's start with my stats. I have 15 mil against time, which is actually not that high. I could definitely increase it. Make sure that when you're doing this, you want to have good synergy skills. You want these light and dark synergy skills. Some of mine aren't done, but whatever. And make sure that you have the best procs that you can in your first slot. For example, for me, it's probably this Obliteration. The main thing is that it performs a crit, does pretty good damage, and increases my ability success value. The success value is super important for Lancer in particular. And then I have a bunch of just regular stuff. I have garbage procs too, like this isn't that great. And neither is this, I don't think. The main thing is that you want to be able to heal. Your procs should be healing procs, because sometimes she'll just slap you against with the bubble, and she'll break your bubble and deal like half of your HP. So make sure that you have healing procs on. Again, you want the best procs that you can, but there's not much that you can do if she hits you really hard. Double procking is the best thing, and I don't think she applies penetration at any point. So standard ability power reduction or reflection are probably the best. And of course, I've got mastery procs as well. To help you in the early stages of the game, I also am running concentration, and I'm also running damage reduction. I don't think she reduces your unison gauge or cost at all like the last monster. So I don't really know why I have that in, but I guess it's a weird flex. And then make sure you have your resurrection. That'll help you to get the first uni off. Once you get the first uni off, it should be a lot easier. I also have duty to defend, which is stupid because I shouldn't have these in. So kind of a conflict of interest, but again, I just kind of threw this together like it's not a great set. And I completed her like 20 minutes ago before this, so it didn't take me that many runs. I think it took me probably like 5 to 10 runs. And I got her down to like 15% many times, and then she would just one shot me, or I would get unlucky. So I kind of changed around my strategy. Make sure that all of your backline monsters have like this dark element, not like this. So don't be stupid like me. And so I'll explain my ability here. I'll go over my abilities and then I'll talk about my monsters. So Garnet Arts gives me boost to uni gains. That helps because I don't have a lot of procs that give me uni gain in my set. And I felt like cycling unis was really, really necessary for this monster. I probably could have done it with 2 Durgs, but I just felt like I was getting one shot too much, so I wanted to apply the negative field. And then Lance Flash, make sure that you get some. Make sure that you use some procs. You have some procs that increase success value with whatever abilities you're using. And then Dragon's Bite. These are your 2 damage dealers for me, but usually you'll have different ones depending on the class. And then, of course, Dragon Knight's Cry to increase your damage a little bit. And then I have Ether Exchange and Dragon Knight's Cry. Again, for whatever reason, I don't have the best procs when it comes to light and dark. I just have weaker procs. And so I felt like I was running out of cost, and that could also be because I was using like the infinite bubble, and Lance Flash is really expensive at 25 cost. So keep that in mind when you're running it. I also felt like cost was the most valuable thing in this because of balancing. There's a point at which she buffs herself, and you always need balancing up, or she can just potentially one shot you right after. There's also a point at which she applies a buff to herself, and you have to use balancing twice in a row. So that's where the infinite bubble is required. So make sure that you have balancing. I think pretty much every class needs balancing, unless you have an ability that removes enemy buffs, and there are a few of them, but yeah. So I start off by using Narukami. Basically, he applies the 200% buff. The overcast is super vital, mainly because it will be your time extend. And then, of course, you need about 2 crests, between 2 and 3 crests. I would recommend probably 3 for most people. But if you can cycle quick enough, 2 is probably good enough. And then, of course, I'm using Ambush as the bubble. That is your infinite ability bubble. That is super necessary for the balancing. That's what I was talking about before. I'm also using Durg. Durg is my other crest monster. The reason why I'm using Durg alongside this guy and Alpha, Narukami and Alpha, I'm using Durg specifically because the first time that I cleared successfully, I noticed that because Durg doesn't give you a bubble, you can piggyback off of these ambush bubbles that you get from Alpha and from Narukami. And I wouldn't use Alpha for the most part. If you have two Narukamis, I would use two of them. But Durg is really good because once you hit about the 40% mark, she really brings out the big guns and has the potential to do some massive damage. Fortify is super valuable here. That's the main reason why I'm using Durg. The second reason is when you get to about the 15% mark, she will use an ability that applies insanity and applies rejection to you, which means that you can't move and you can't gain uni and you can't gain cost. And throughout the entire match, she also applies multiple instances of no procking. I forget what it's called. There's a debuff that applies to players that prevents you from offensively procking. Durg is really good because he gives you some status ailment resistance. So status ailment resistance is really valuable. I didn't notice particularly that she was stripping a whole lot. She does have one strip ability, I know that, and she does have one ability that reduces time. It's a time slicing ability, so that's annoying. But most of the time she doesn't use those. So if you have two Durgs would be good as well. For me, I was using Firm in this form to break the ordeal. You need to do magic damage and I believe magic damage with fire and physical damage with light in order to successfully beat it. And really the only reason that I'm using her is because she gives me ability power boost. And Dawn. Dawn is really powerful. I was running out of cost many times, so Dawn plus the ability power boost is the main reason that I'm using Firm, but she also breaks the ordeal, which is really nice. And I wouldn't use her in this form because if you have Narukami, then their buffs stack over each other, right? This is a 200% buff and this is a 200% buff monster. So you don't need multiple 200% buff monsters back to back. Especially in the beginning. So that's why I'm using Firm. Now, I decided to use Alpha specifically because she applies another ambush field. I would actually feel much better if I had a second Narukami. Or, Durg wouldn't be bad here either. But I personally felt like I kept getting killed when she would buff. And just the idea of not having the infinite bubble of the ambush bubble in order to apply the balancing multiple times to remove the enemy's buffs, I felt like it was just pissing me off. So I threw her on. She's pretty good. She applies Vital Strikes and Kijin and she also applies Blessing, which means that I can just cycle super fast. So there's some nice things to her. So yeah, I'm using Alpha. Now her field, just to touch on it finally, the infinite field, you can't use any fields. Every single ability that she has, that Margaret has, will remove your field. So only crests will apply. Now I'm using Hatsune Miku. The main reason I'm using her, basically the only reason, is for the Burial Eclipse. It removes 40% of her stats, so you do more damage. It decreases her ability power, so she has a lower chance of one-shotting, and it increases the amount of ability power that you deal to her. So you're dealing more damage and you're taking less damage. It applies for 90 seconds. So what I like to do is I like to get the monster. Once you hit around the 50% mark, I like to apply Burial Eclipse and then keep it up basically the entire rest of the match. Because once she hits the 40% marks, the big guns come out. And as soon as Burial Eclipse drops for me is when I start to have the potential of dying. So that's why I'm using her. She also applies Abstraction. I didn't notice that the monster was using Abstraction, but I'm pretty sure at one point I one-shot myself with Reflection Reduction, even though I have, or with Reflection, even though I have Reflection Reduction. But I had Hatsune and Alpha, and both of them apply abstraction resistance. So I didn't really notice it, except for one time where I just randomly one-shot myself. So I'm pretty sure she applies abstraction at some point, which is kind of annoying. And then, of course, I kind of already covered this, but Narukami is your main damage dealer, in my opinion, and you want to cycle as quickly as possible once you use Narukami and apply more buffs, because the Overcast, this one, it only lasts for 60 seconds. So you have, it takes about 10 seconds to do a full uni animation. So you only have about 50 seconds to uni again before Overcast expires. And once Overcast expires, all the buffs that you have right now will get time extended. So that's the big one right there. It gets time extended, and you can only apply time extend once to your buffs. And this really helps to push for damage. But Narukami's fantastic because he gives you the infinite bubble. He gives you 200% buff. He gives you the crest as well. And the crest, in my opinion, is not, like, his crest in particular is not necessary. If you have Durg, the Durg crest is fine. But I won't deny that his crest is definitely good. So hopefully that gives you like a good breakdown of how you could beat this. Of course, I am not doing this optimally. Of course, I would want to have a monster probably like this that applies. Oh no, he doesn't apply it either. Like this one. I know this monster applies more element. And then, of course, don't forget about your synergy skills. That's here. And I'm missing quite a bit. With those synergy skills, I could probably break. And you want light and dark. Those are the two that you want. And I could probably break 16 mil. I think that you do really need high stats. I mean, you saw the amount of damage that I was dealing, even with quite a few buffs. You're really missing out if you don't have high stats. Now, I wanted to touch on one more thing. I wanted to explain why I was not using this Yukiko monster. I did not personally feel like Yukiko was doing anything for me. The reduction to status ailment resistance doesn't really do anything unless you're trying to stun the enemy. Absolute and Mastery. The Absolute actually was pretty valuable, but I found that the Mastery really wasn't saving me, and I felt like the Absolute, because I don't have a lot of uni procs, the Absolute wasn't helping me cycle uni like super fast. Lastly, the Wicked Collapse doesn't do anything in this circumstance. It reduces cost recovery speed, but it doesn't reduce the amount of... Cost recovery speed doesn't apply to PvE monsters. And everything else doesn't apply to PvE monsters either. So her field is basically garbage. Also, the monster doesn't apply Scorching at any point, and Rage is not necessary. So I felt like Yukiko was basically completely unnecessary for this. So that's kind of weird. I also wanted to touch briefly on Yuki. I personally did not try using Yuki, but I don't think Yuki would be bad. The interesting part is that The 80%, the minus 80% would go pretty hard, but the monster doesn't heal. Like the last monster, you basically needed healing reduction or you couldn't beat it. This one doesn't heal, it just slaps the shit out of you. So the healing is basically garbage. Rage and Serenity is good. Now, the Serenity is the really good one because it helps you. It basically gives you uni instantly when it expires. So the Serenity would actually be good in this situation. Now, the biggest problem and the main reason I didn't use him was because of Fire Crest. The Fire Crest is just not an ideal crest. He also doesn't apply the good bubble. But the Insanity resistance actually would be incredibly powerful. And Blessing is, of course, really powerful as well. The Insanity resistance, I got hit with Insanity basically every time when she used that move. Once she hits like the 20%, 20% mark, she uses that move that hits Insanity and Rejection. And I got hit with Insanity every single time because I don't have any monsters that have Insanity resistance. So I was debating on whether or not I was going to use him, but I ended up going with Alpha. So hopefully that all makes sense to you guys. And of course, my set was kind of thrown together in a kind of shabby way. I definitely could correctly do it. But yeah, I won't deny that I was just kind of half-assing it at first and then noticed that she kind of started one-shotting me. So yeah, hopefully that guides you on the right path to beat her. And there you go. I will catch you guys. Oh, let's see if I can find it. Where is it? Oh, no. Oh, it's down here. Okay. Yeah, it's right there. Well, I will catch you guys later.